Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, The Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. This is your weekly Big Ten review with our own Riley Mags. Southside Riley, as we like to call him. It's week 9, I guess, maybe in football. College football it is. Our weekly trip over to Chicago to talk some Big Ten football. 5 games, we think, this week. We'll talk about opening numbers, under-overs, team totals, props, whatever it is. Get you ready for the weekend. For ECSI followers, it's been a long week. I'm not going to bore you with details. A lot of out of the office as we get set to leave Boston on Sunday, a Caribbean cruise for 8 days, 7 nights, 5 stops. The last 3, St. Thomas, Dominican Republic. We dock in Puerto Rico, spend the night there, fly back to Boston on November 7th, the Monday. So bringing the office with me. I've gotten a lot of shit on that from some people, but it is what it is. I don't know what I'm going to have for internet, if it's going to be decent enough to do this. If not, I've had Riley step to the plate, willing to get in there for a couple days. I've talked to our producer, Kiefer. Riley can bring some guests on. He can bring Kiefer on. He can do whatever he wants. He will have carte blanche for I'm hoping if I can at least get on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, give the reins to Riley Tuesday, Thursday for the weekend. We'll see how the internet is. Maybe one island sucks and the next one's good. Who knows? But enough from me. The VIPs, this week we're up 2.5 units. Yesterday, 2-1. We get the Ravens team total to the pay window, left the over in that game on the desk. We get the Montreal Canadiens plus 135 first period to the pay window. We lose Utah team total last night in college football. And listen, this is, I tell you, I'm surprised there's not more outrage. The Utah coach, and I guess the rules are right there. You don't have to say who your starting quarterback is, and people back in Utah was assuming the potential Pac-12 quarterback of the year. One of them in contention was starting, and he okey-doked us, egg in our face. He never played a snap, and Utah won. They didn't have that offense that we thought they would. I was hoping for a defensive score, didn't get there. But enough from me. Let's bring in our co-host, the one and only Mr. Riley Magnuson. What is up, Riley? Long time no talk to.
What is up, my friend? Happy Friday morning over here, Midwest, Windy City. Feeling good over here. It is good to be back. It is, I don't know, maybe a week or so since we've been talking here. So happy to be back. 5 Big Ten games on the slate today. Plenty of other action. You mentioned it, World Series tonight, NBA as well tonight. NBA is starting to roll along. Things are rocking and rolling. We're feeling good. But, I am ready to rock wherever you'd like to, my friend. If you want to keep recapping, that's, all the same, no problems. But, you got to get ready for your trip next week. But, the sports world doesn't stop. So, if you've got the internet, then you got the internet. Otherwise, like you said, I'll step to the plate and do some of my own hosting if I have to. So, no sweat at all. But, of course, always good to be back, my friend.
Let's go back to last week. How's the landscape shaping up? Any upsets last week? 5 games again. The cream's still rising to the top. I mean, everyone's expecting that showdown of 2 undefeated teams of Michigan and Ohio State. I know this week Ohio State tiptoes to Happy Valley to face Penn State. Not a whiteout. The whiteout was last week as they defeated Minnesota. The cash cow 6-1. Ohio State team total first game Did not come through against Notre Dame. They have sheeted since. A big nut I know we'll get to, but what'd you see last week, Riley?
Yeah, last week, for me, I had egg on my face myself. One of my rougher weeks in the Big Ten. Probably, it was, definitely my worst week in the Big Ten. My worst weeks before that had been some break-even ones. And I told you, though, actually, last week was one of the one plays that I have regretted the entire year. I've gotten to a point where I don't have too many spots that I regret, but and I told you I might have egg on my face, but that Purdue line was no joke. That was a Purdue trap and a half if I've ever seen one, and that was from the opening minute. It was all Wisconsin. So the Big Ten West is still wide open. Is still the story there, and honestly, Minnesota is the other team that I obviously my hype train was all over the place and very high. I had no idea they've done such a, I guess if you want to call it a good job, but in both cases they've come out horrendously in both cases, but done a crazy job of kind of like you were talking about with Utah, not talking about their injury issues, and in their case, not really mentioning that their players have much of an injury at all, and then they show up to the game and without much of an injury designation, and then they're just not playing. So. Freshman quarterback in the whiteout last week was definitely not a spot that I would have loved to back if I had full knowledge that was happening. So, it was a scene for sure, and Penn State rolled to that one. So, the Big Ten West still wide open though. As far as the two big ones on the slate tomorrow, obviously Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, but Illinois, Nebraska. If Illinois wins that one, then the Big Ten West is theirs to lose. But if Nebraska wins that one, we've got a three-way tie at the top of the Big Ten West, and I think maybe even a team or two still at 2 losses right there, just haven't played as many games. But Purdue, Nebraska, and Illinois. If Nebraska can pull it off an upset there, it's a three-way tie. And the tie-breaking scenarios for the Big Ten West. People are already cooking up a crazy scenario, obviously, where Northwestern still has a chance to be a 5-win team winning the Big Ten West. Not going to happen, but it's fun to at least dream that these possibilities are still alive. So, and then, Ohio State rolls over Iowa last week. Rutgers takes care of Indiana. Those teams are fading, obviously, but and Maryland gets the win over Northwestern 31-24. So wide open Big Ten West. Couple games tomorrow that if they're good, then obviously a lot of people are watching. But the two big games of the day obviously could get ugly fast, and maybe we won't have something worth watching. So hopefully we've got a couple good games on our hand in the Big Ten tomorrow. But the other two games that I haven't mentioned, maybe they'll be interesting game, maybe they won't. I'm not sure. Iowa, Northwestern, and then Rutgers, Minnesota probably won't have too many eyes on them there. But we'll talk about them for sure. The Big Ten West obviously still wide open is what I'm interested in going forward here. Regardless of what happens, Illinois, Nebraska. Whether Illinois wins, Nebraska wins, the next couple of weeks following that, the Big Ten West is going to be wide open and still anybody's game, even if Illinois does win. So that's what I'm excited for. You and I, we haven't talked about it. I'm not a diehard Illinois fan, but we've got a little bit of an Illinois-Nebraska showdown as far as the show is concerned, my friend, as far as us fighting and battling for our teams here. Illinois football is the one where I admittedly am close to a actual fair weather fan, but the weather's pretty nice right now, so I'm not wearing my Illinois hat right now, but I'm at least finally enjoying Illinois football for the first time in maybe 15 years. My brother's an alumni, so he's suffered quite a bit more and has lived and died with them a little more than I have. A lot more than I have. I have not let them control my emotions. So if they lose, maybe this will be the first time I'll be upset about an Illinois loss in a long time. But nonetheless, that one could be an interesting one. Illinois obviously gets the win last year, so maybe Nebraska's out for some revenge tomorrow. But it could be a good one. We'll see. Illinois' defense has obviously been fantastic, so I'm excited to see how that one goes. See what your thoughts there are.
Well, if my math is correct, Tuesday, November 1st.
What's that?
It's Tuesday, November 1st?
Tuesday, November 1st, yeah.
You know what that means?
Oh, boy. Yes, I do know what that means. Is November 1st the actual first opening day?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to say, it keeps creeping up on me, and I keep losing track of the actual date. I've been doing a little bit of research, but I've been seeing, I don't know if there's any way to watch any of these, but some of these exhibition games coming up or charity events and whatnot. But, I'm excited. Obviously, speaking of Illinois sports, both teams, football and basketball, ranked for the first time in I don't know how long. So The Illinois faithful are swimming in some joy right now. So hopefully that can last a while. But yeah, as far as if you want to talk about that for a half a second, Illinois is obviously the biggest, maybe one of the bigger dark horse teams in the country as far as kind of a whole new look to their team. Some awesome transfers. Maybe that'll work. Maybe the chemistry won't be there, and then it'll be a disappointment. I don't know. But that's one of the teams, whether I'm an Illinois fan or not, that I'm most interested in watching as far as college basketball is concerned.
And for me, pivoting obviously from football to Nebraska in NCAA hoops, I think UConn is 26. They're like right in that top 25, 26. It depends on where you look. The UConn hockey team just put a whooping on BC last night. They split with BU. That was their first loss. They're having an amazing season. And the football team plays host to BC this week. And it's kind of funny because all the BC fans are nervous as hell. The number opened at 10. And I was on Sports Map Radio, Diehard Radio with Anthony Pepe, and he does a lot of work with BC and their sports. And I say, Anthony, there's only one way that number could go, and it's down to 7. I'm like, they opened it at 10 for a reason. They're going to get nothing but UConn money. I'm pretty comfortable right now saying I think BC wins by double digits. And they're like, oh, my God, no way. UConn's going to beat them. And I'm like, just pump the brakes there. I know they've had a good year. BC football's had a down year, but I don't see it.
No. I'm not gonna. Yeah, you have definitely a better eye for UConn football than I do. I'm not gonna say that, but I mean, just looking at BC, yeah, you're right. They've had a down year, but they've had such a tough schedule out of the ACC. I mean, some of these big numbers are against some of the better teams in the conference that they've been losing by. So, whether or not they win the game, I don't know. But that game against UConn, it's gonna be a different look than them playing Clemson or Wake Forest in each of the last 2 weeks. So like I said, you've obviously got a better eye for that than I do, but I think I agree with you there.
All right, the slate's yours. Let's kick off.
All righty. You know what? Let's move them around a little bit because the first one is Ohio State, Penn State, but we'll push that one to the back so we're not ending the show on Northwestern and Iowa and Rutgers and Minnesota. How about that? So let's kick it off with Illinois, Nebraska because that game. Like you said, not not being billed as the biggest game of the day by any means, but as far as Big Ten West implications, it is massive. Illinois minus 7.5 on the road here in Nebraska. I as far as line movement, I'm seeing it open at 6.5, but was that maybe a look ahead line 6.5? I don't think that was this week, was it?
No, and you're giving me that number right now. I'm trying to pull it up. And I don't like it. I'll tell you what the actual number is, was. The number was 5.5. Okay. It was floating around 5.5, 6. So I'll just say, unless I was sleeping at the wheel, there was some heavy overnight money coming in on Illinois. And
right.
Now the 7.5 is an eye opener right now.
Right, and especially when you're thinking about the revenge factor from Nebraska's side. I'm sure a lot of people are expecting Illinois to regress at certain points. And it wouldn't shock me if Nebraska won this game with the revenge factor, whatnot. No, it wouldn't shock me. But Illinois' defense is for real. And I mean, I don't know if you look back at as far as what to expect of Nebraska's offense. I don't know if it's a fair comparison, but Nebraska's offense, even going up against a better defense like even Rutgers, it was an ugly struggle, 14-13 type of struggle. So, maybe that was just a bad night. I don't know. But if Illinois' defense is playing anywhere near what they have been, then this one, Nebraska's offense is going to struggle here. But, Nebraska's offense is good enough. They're better than some of these last couple offenses Illinois has faced. But I don't know. Illinois' offense is a bigger factor than I think people are talking about. Nebraska's rush defense has been really bad. Illinois' rush offense with Chase Brown is obviously strong. So if they can get out and do that and control the game, then it's going to be tough for Nebraska to claw their way back in. But I don't know. Do you give Nebraska a legitimate shot here, or is that 7.5 more of a statement? And you think, if anything, maybe Illinois wins by 7?
Well, here's the funny number in that game is the under-over. You talked a lot this year about that Illinois defense. We know the Nebraska defense has been a sieve at certain points. Correct me if I'm wrong. Both teams coming off a bye? or is it just Illinois?
Both teams. Yep, both teams. You're right.
The opening number at Chris was 6.5 and 50. Now we're at the 7.5 juiced under. Again, when they push it to the hook to 7.5, they're begging for some Nebraska money, and the Sharps didn't come back and grab it. I do see it. South Point is the one spot on the strip. It's a flat 7. Chris won't move it to 7.5 there. I guess if you put a gun to my head, the number that intrigues me the most, surprisingly, is I think it gets to the over. I guess my question, if you can find it, is what are the team totals?
I believe on DraftKings it's 29.5 for Illinois and 20.5 minus 120 to the over for Nebraska.
All right. Well, you just nailed it. 20.5. It's not 21.5. Take the Nebraska over. It's 20.5. They want you to take the over. So Nebraska is going to get to 20 or less. The 29.5 is kind of comical with Illinois because that gets them past the 28 number, and the 27 that gets them to 30/31. My first impression is that Vegas has this at that old 28-20, and the actual number opened at 50. So I'd be more inclined to take the Illinois team total over 29.5. I will not run to the window, obviously, and take Nebraska team total under 20.5. But anyone taking that as the over, it's a trap.
Right. No, yeah, 100%. I'm just processing a little bit, but you could even make the argument Illinois has. I mean, the last few defenses that they've faced have been. You could make the case that this Nebraska defense is as bad of a defense as Illinois has seen in a handful of weeks. I mean, you had Iowa coming into town with Illinois' backup quarterback, so you can almost throw that game completely out the window. Minnesota's defense, obviously, they've been ugly the last few weeks, but still probably better than Nebraska's. Illinois scores 26 there, 34-10. Obviously, the low point, rock bottom for Wisconsin's season, but going into Wisconsin and doing what they did there was pretty eye-opening there. So, yeah, if Chase Brown is playing well and Tommy DeVito is accurate enough, then I'm with you. I think Illinois goes over that number. That would be, I guess getting into a shootout would kind of concern me, but I think Nebraska's defense is bad enough. Like I said, as long as Tommy DeVito is accurate enough and not sailing the ball, a couple bad turnovers, which hasn't really been the case, I think Illinois should be fine. So I think we're on the same page there. I kind of like Illinois scoring points here in this one as well.
Yeah, it does by the numbers, just looking at the X's and O's and the numbers. I don't like the line move to 7.5. There's no buyback there. That's a concern, number one. Number two, a 51 in one spot, trending to 51. I do see a 49, but it's 50.5 is the consensus, going to 51 with Illinois at 29.5. I think they get to 30 or 31 very comfortably, and I think Nebraska stays at 20 or less. So if you're taking the under over, and if you were taking the over, I think you actually probably will have an easier spot taking the team total of Illinois over that 29.5.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I don't know. Do you get the feeling that Nebraska, after they almost beat Purdue, if they had beaten them, then maybe their season turns a little bit? Do you get the feeling that was maybe the last chance, or do you, as far as forget all of what we're saying as far as X's and O's and the numbers and what to play? Do you feel like do you think this could be their last stand, or do you think that was maybe against Purdue?
I think coming off that game with a week off, you're going to see the last-ditch effort. I mean, listen, would I be shocked if Nebraska won? I wouldn't be shocked.
No.
This is their season. This is their bowl game. Listen, if they lose, the season's over with. At least if they win, they're still in contention for the West. I think you're going to get the best effort, the most focused effort. Again, got to win the turnover battle. The defense has got to make a couple stands. You can't have Illinois come out there 10-0, 14-3, because then when Nebraska's playing catch-up, we know what happens then.
Yeah, and I would even say, because obviously that's kind of what happened last year. It was week 0 last year, and Illinois ended up having a rough season. Nebraska obviously ended up having a rough season, but Illinois had those turnovers. I don't remember exactly how it went. I know they had a fumble 6 or kick, Bach. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I don't know. I think Nebraska might have to get out to that type of lead, because then if Illinois is chasing, we haven't really seen them kind of chase like that before, and that could be the issue for them. So if Illinois is able to get up, or even, even just a 7-3, 10-7 kind of ho-hum first half, then I think Illinois should be fine. But if Nebraska can jump out to a lead, then that would be the way I think they win in this one. So, and then, you're right. Because if they lose, they're 3-5, and they've still got to go. They got to go 3-1 to get to a bowl game against Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Definitely possible outside of the Michigan game, but I'd feel much better about them going 2-2 out of that stretch as opposed to 3-1 there. So, let's see. Moving on to we'll go to Minnesota, Rutgers in Minnesota, -14 for the Gophers, total of 40.5. Obviously, the Minnesota hype train as the steam has fallen out of has come out of the train, or the coal has fallen out of the train in that one. I would kind of, as far as the losses, I kind of would expect Minnesota's defense at the very least to come out and be really aggressive and have a really nice game against this Rutgers offense. But on the contrary, as far as I would expect Tanner Morgan to come back this week, he was he had a concussion last week. I don't know. This Rutgers defense is good enough, I think, to keep them in this game. So I'm not playing anything on this one. But I could see this one staying under the 40.5. That might even be. I think that's the pretty popular play. I'm not playing anything here, but I don't know. This one kind of screams to me a 24-10 type game or something along those lines. What are you thinking with this one?
We've been waiting for that Minnesota bounce back. What was it, 4-0, and they've lost 3 in a row now?
I think so, yeah.
This is supposed to be the perfect storm. If I said I thought Rutgers is dangerous here, meaning I think it's a lot of points for a struggling Minnesota team. Now, you got to put your foot down. You got to take care of business. You got to get to 5-3. This is your get well game. If you just go through the motions and allow Rutgers to hang around, that's what I'm not comparing the two teams, but that's what BC did. And you know what happened there. So a low total, which means they're expecting a lot from the Minnesota defense here. 14 and a 40. So 24. What are they giving you for Minnesota team total? Around 24 and a hook?
I see 26.5 over -130.
26 and a half.
So maybe other spots might be 27.5. I can check another spot here.
And then what do they got for Minnesota? 14 and a hook under?
For Rutgers, I see on DraftKings, I see 13.5. The under is -130 there. So let me double check a different one to see if it's a little different on that one. Let's see. That one's at 130. So FanDuel's got the game at 13.5. They might not even have. Yeah, they don't even have it posted here. So never mind. But 13.5 or 14.5 for Rutgers.
See, so usually my go number would have been Rutgers 14 and a half juiced under. They're giving you 13 and a half juiced under, which to me, again, I don't dive into traps. So if it was 14 and a half juiced under 130, to me, that's a Rutgers go number. The 26 and a half juiced over again for Minnesota is another trap because the mind says they can get to 27, 28, or 30, not a problem. So with all those numbers, it's definitely a stay away game. I do think Rutgers is sneaky at 14. That's just the take. I hope Minnesota blows them out. I really do. Yeah. But they haven't been playing well, and they don't deserve that.
No, I'm not. Again, I'm not playing it, but I'm with you. Some type of. I think Rutgers defense is good enough to keep this a lower scoring game, and maybe their offense is miserable, and Minnesota's defense is fantastic. I don't know, but I'm with you. I don't know. This one either feels spot on or Rutgers has more of a chance than they're giving them here. That's kind of what it feels like to me. So next one, definitely an uglier one, and a lot of people are talking about it, and I'm not sure if I think they're talking about one play a little too much if you ask me, but Northwestern and Iowa in this game. Third game out of the 5 here. Iowa hosting this one 10.5, 11, 11.5 is what I've been seeing. But the entire world for a handful of days now has been talking about the under in this game, and it's kind of trickling up a little bit here. I think it was 36.5, now 37.5, and a lot of people are on this under. I'm not going to be doing that. I can understand why. I mean, Iowa's offense has been obviously abysmal. Their defense is good. Northwestern is 1-6. They're a terrible team. But on one hand, I think Northwestern's defense is bad enough that even this Iowa offense can score on them. I mean, if you look back, Northwestern allowed a mediocre MAC team to beat them in their home building, and an FCS team that's not a bad program, but not a top 10 FCS program coming in and scored 31 points. So as bad as Iowa's offense has been, I think they can actually come into this game and score some points. And Northwestern's offense, it's not good, but it's not terrible, and they'll either be good enough to score some points or they'll be aggressive enough to where Iowa's defense is creating a ton of points for themselves. So I'm not saying I'm running to the window on the over, Jeff. I'm just saying I'm kind of fading the public trend of the under in this one and saying the under or the over has more of a chance than people are talking about here is what I'm saying.
The computer model, Chris's opening number was 35.5 under over with an 11. Some corrected numbers at 38. The consensus is 37.5. There is a 38 right now at the circa. 37.5, the rest of the consensus. I mean, basic math. To me, the eye opener is, I think that Iowa minus 11 is a short number. I think they were trying to entice you in some Iowa play. Yeah. I know their offense is bad. Northwestern, one win, of course, opening day in Ireland against Nebraska. I mean, that's just the way it goes. Be interested to hear what your team totals are.
Let's see. I just had it up a second ago. 24.5 for Iowa, the under minus 130. And then Northwestern, 13.5. The over is minus 110. The under is minus 120.
What was the under?
Minus 120, 13.5 for Northwestern, while the over is minus 110.
All right, so this is a perfect example. And I've got an egg on my face with this team because I had the Michigan. Yeah. When Iowa played Michigan, I had the team total over 14.5. They easily should have got it. And I got stuck on stupid there, the two late scores, but they had a couple red zones that they got stopped. This is a perfect example of we've been killing these numbers. We've been doing 4-1, 5-0s for a while now. This is one that, though it's Iowa, that's the problem here. But they want you to take the under 24.5. Oh, yeah. It's minus 130, where I would say you take Iowa team total over 24.5, take the plus 110, and be fine with it.
Kind of what I'm saying with you, and that I agree. As far as I was saying, I'm potentially thinking of fading the public on this one. I would say the reason why this one even could go over, it could be a 30-3 game and it does stay under, but Iowa gets to that number, right? I mean, Northwestern's defense, I promise you, as bad as Iowa, I know the narrative is how bad Iowa's offense is, and Kirk Ferentz' son is the worst offensive coordinator anyone's ever seen, but I promise this Northwestern defense is really brutal, and this Iowa offense, especially at home here, when they're 3-4, trying to even a win. I'm not putting them with a chance of winning the Big Ten West, but I think every single team in the Big Ten West within their own locker room is telling themselves that they still have a chance. Maybe not Northwestern, but I think the winner of that game goes to 2-3. And if Nebraska beats Illinois, they're all 3-2. So there's on top of a bunch of three teams being 3-2, there's also 2 or 3 teams that are within a game or a half game. So I think Iowa's still telling themselves, whether or not you believe it, I'm not saying they do, but they're probably still telling themselves that they have a chance, an outside chance of the Big Ten West if they can go on a run here. So, and that I think that should lead into them having a much better day offensively here against this Northwestern defense. So I'm with you. I think that's a great suggestion to make there. And stay far away from that under. That people have been talking about it since Saturday night when it opened up, I think. So I will be staying far away from that one.
I mean, I just from the eye test, the number looks short to me with an totally. 11. It's almost like if you do the basic math, they got this at 24-13, and that's where the team totals are. But when you guys, anyone watching and listening that doesn't understand what I'm trying to preach here is these under and overs, the team totals, Vegas is giving you what I call as a carrot. They're jading the juice to persuade you. So 24.5 under 130 is a go number to take the plus money and go over. Just like a 23.5 juiced over minus 130 is a go number to take the under. They're giving you these signs, but we're wired the exact opposite. If I saw a 23.5 here and I'm the general public, I'm a D-Gen. Well, Iowa's got to get to at least 24. That's a no-brainer. Everyone runs to the window, and the final score is 23-13.
Right.
They're telling you they're going to get to 24 and less, and they're giving you the lead, the carrot. Minus 130 under, 24 and a half. They're not going to get to 26, 27, 28, or 30. So come to the window. You don't have to rush. We got plenty of lines right here. Go take your under with pride, and they get to 27, 28, or 30 tomorrow.
Right. And I would say it oftentimes is magnified when you have a team with a narrative with Iowa as bad as it is as far as the one side of the ball. So 100%. I think there's a fantastic case of that one because you're right. What was it? The Iowa-Michigan one? It did stay under, but it was you're still upset about it. It's one of those ones where you're like, how the hell did that one stay under? So I am with you on that one. I think there's gonna be more points than people realize here. Last two games. I talked about at the end opening of the show. Biggest two matchups, two of the bigger matchups of the season. Obviously, Michigan State obviously hasn't been as good, but the rivalry matchup is always fun, especially if the game ends up being close. We'll start with that one. Michigan State, Michigan line up at 22.5, 23 in a couple different spots here. 54.5 on the game total. 7-0 Michigan, 3-4 Michigan State. I'm seeing some money trickling over to Michigan State's side here. Michigan State has actually won the last two matchups in this rivalry about the same time the last 2 years. In one of the 2020, they were 21.5 point dogs and they got the upset. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one? Because Michigan is the better team, no doubt about it. This Michigan State defense, especially pass defense, has been horrendous. But you and I kind of talked about it. They get the bounce back win against Wisconsin at home. Now they have a bye week coming into this one. I'm not saying they've got a puncher's chance, but I'm kind of saying this rivalry, there's always a puncher's chance for me. And I don't know. Michigan kind of lately has been overlooking them a little bit because they were so worried about Ohio State. I don't know. Am I crazy to think that Michigan State, I'm not saying they pull off a crazy upset. Am I crazy to think that they have a chance of at least making this an entertaining game and this 23 is easy money?
I've had egg on my face all year with this Michigan team, and what they do is they just get out early, and then they step on your throat, and they just keep pounding and pounding. They go back to the Penn State-Michigan game. Penn State played their ass off the first half. It was a good back and forth game. And then Michigan just leaned on them and they folded like a cheap tent. The problem with the Michigan State squad this year is two things. Their defense is putrid and they make a lot of mistakes. And you do that against a Michigan team and it's lights out. And I can't go run to the window. It's 23. The consensus is 23 and a 55. So basic math. Your Michigan team total should be probably, my guess is 33 and a hook, maybe. And your Michigan State, 14 and a half, something stupid like that. 13 and a half.
It might even be a bigger difference than that. Let me see here. Michigan team totals 38.5 on DraftKings, 38.5 for Michigan, minus 115 both sides. Michigan State 16.5. So those ones I saw those as well, and it's like, okay, well, maybe as we were talking about with these team totals, that's a similar situation where you expect Michigan State to get up over 16.5, but I don't know. But yeah, 38.5 and 16.5.
I won't touch the Michigan State team total.
No.
If it was 17 and a half juice under, I would talk about it. It's
right.
Not. The 38 and a half number. Listen, this isn't Ohio State, whose team totals 38 and a half, 39 every week. I think Michigan State ends up in the 13, 14 number. Michigan, do they get to 40? I could see it. Am I going to the window? No, I'm not.
This is one where I'm happy to, if it becomes an entertaining game, then the Big Ten homer in me is ecstatic, and we'll have an awesome scene on our hand with this rivalry. If not, and it's Michigan all the way from start to finish, then you'll have egg on your face if you get Michigan State because, the numbers are definitely suggesting a total beatdown, but. It's one of those things where if I'm playing Michigan State, it's based off of these type of narratives of the big brother, little brother thing. The little brother always has more fire in their hearts to pull off the upset or something along those lines. But it's all narrative based, so I'm not going to buy into that. And Kenneth Walker III ain't walking through those doors like he was last year to get the Spartans the win. So because you're right, Michigan State, I think they're going to look better going forward after the bounce back with Wisconsin. Without looking at their schedule, I think they'll look better than they did the early portion of the season. But this probably isn't. Michigan is just they're just so much better than this year. There's no explosiveness on Michigan State's side. If you hit a big play, maybe I think kind of like that Michigan Penn State game. Maybe it's a little bit closer in the first half, and then Michigan puts the pedal down in the second half. I don't know, but at the end of the day, I'll like I said, if it's an entertaining game, then I'll be happy. If not, then I won't lose too much sleep over it.
And I'm trying to process this with the eye test, and I hate to use the eye test because that's not part of my. Listen, I watch the games, I follow them. I actually watch tape after the games. I do all that nonsense, but it is this Michigan team. Hats off to Harbaugh. They got him to the Final Four last year. Everyone laughed, and the speed was a difference. I had egg on my face. I took them with the points. I knew in the first quarter I was DOA there against Georgia. They don't match up against Georgia. No. I maybe they can move the ball better this year against Bama. I don't know. It's going to be so intriguing to see them go to Ohio State. They're going to be catching 10 and a half, 11. Just the offensive explosiveness of Ohio State versus just I'm not calling them the Nebraska of the 80s, but it's just run left, run right, occasional, jump ball to the right. When you're trying to compare him to a Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, it'd be interesting against a Tennessee team who can score at will, but they have a hard time stopping the nosebleed.
Sure. And I mean, quarterback wise, as compared to 3-4 years ago when they were this close, but then just couldn't climb over the hump. They've got quarterbacks that are good enough now, I think, but kind of not in that same range as C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young to really compete at those the top 4 level. That's kind of where I see him this year because you see they have those big play opportunities and then they might just miss a bomb or something like that to really put whoever the team is away. And obviously they put teams away this year, but I think you know what I'm saying as far as that extra gear that these top 3 or 4 teams have. So I'm with you on that one. I think it's still Ohio State's conference to lose here. So moving on to that one. At Penn State, you mentioned a whiteout last week. Obviously, the atmosphere is still going to be fantastic for Penn State. But 14.5 now I see. It was 15, still 15 in a lot of spots. I see 14.5 on a couple of the major books here. 60.5 for the full game. Let's see the team totals for these two teams. 22.5 for Penn State, 37.5 for Ohio State. So we've obviously, you mentioned it, the Ohio State team total has been a monster winner this entire season here. Penn State's defense looked a lot better last year, but when we were talking about Minnesota, you have a freshman quarterback with deer in the headlights look almost in the entire game and really gave no respect to him at all. And a guy, Muhammad Ibrahim, who I've talked to and still think the world of as far as a running back, just had nowhere to go as far as that game is concerned. So Ohio State's offense, Penn State's defense obviously it can defend the pass to some degree, but if Ohio State is moving the ball and able to keep them guessing, this Ohio State offense should still be, in line for a really nice day. Do you think that 37.5 are you concerned that maybe this one lands just short, like 35 or something like that? Or I don't know. It seems like 38.5 for this Ohio State team is really the number where if it's 38.5, they're flying over. And these, 37.5 seems almost trappy to me.
Well, I got to tell you, as I break down these games, what I try to explain to anyone that wants to listen and learn, when you go to sleep on Thursday night, you want to take a snapshot of your spreadsheets, because I say on Friday morning, what happens on Thursday nights is the Texas oil money comes in. The big boys from Texas come into Vegas. They start dropping the bags. You see some line moves. And then Friday night, take another snapshot because the West Coast big dogs start coming in to Vegas for the weekend. And then you'll see another line change. That's number 2. The third line change that you can see, and it's like a slot machine, is turn on game day. at 9 a.m. or whatever, and then just watch your spreadsheet move after Curb Street, after The Bear, after McAfee now, and they just move, especially the 12 o'clock games. I'll tell you a couple eye openers. First of all, the Ohio State team total has been 38.5 all week. I even saw an initial 39. That's down to 37.5. That's an eye opener, number one. Number two, the 15 all week down to 14.5. So what I will say to you, there are some 15s. There are a couple 15.5s. DraftKings right now is the only one at 14.5. Now, whether they're trying to set the market, Chris right now dropped it to a flat 14. Something's going on over there.
Yeah.
So they definitely got some money coming in on Penn State. Did a show last night, Sportsbook Confessions, with Brady Tinker and Dave Sharapan. Dave, obviously an alum of Penn State. He's not feeling comfortable. There was some money that came in last night on Penn State. The team total has been an auto play for Ohio State. They're 6-1 this year. Their first game of the year against Notre Dame didn't get there.
Yeah.
They've gotten the 37.5, 38.5, 39s, 39.5 without a sweat. This dropped a full point. So my initial read, Ohio State 37, Penn State 23 or 24. I'm not going to run to that window because 21 in. Yeah. So I'm going to say 37-23 right now, which gets you to that 14 right there.
Right there. Yeah.
37-24, and it lands on 13. So I would have to lean Penn State side right now.
I'm not. I mean, and especially when you consider Penn State's other massive game was Michigan. They lose 41-17, 24-point difference. Now Ohio State, who's putting up 40, 50 points a game, is coming into town. Yeah, I'm with you. I think 20. If it was a 20-point spread, then I would give more respect to Ohio State in this one, right? So I don't know. I think maybe you're living and dying by Sean Clifford a little too much for my own comfort if you're betting on Penn State in any fashion, which I think it should be aggressive enough since this is kind of the season on the line for the most part for them if they want any true chance of the Big Ten, obviously. So he's probably going to be aggressive. So, I don't know. I'm a little torn. I think you're right. I think it's going to be close to these numbers. But I'm not backing Ohio State as far as what I'm seeing right now, at least on the spread either.
I told Dave's chance last night, and I'm going to stick to it. If it's a huge if, Penn State's going to rush for 300 yards or more tomorrow.
Yeah.
You keep Stroud off the field. You keep away. Ground control. Ground control to Major Tom here. And I wish this was the whiteout game. I really do. The only other downside, and this is my Jedi mind tricks, it's a noon game. You didn't give the Penn State kids a fair shot to get all lathered up, it's a high noon game. And I don't know what's going on for the basic. What are the kids going to do on Friday night? Are they going to limp? I mean, this place should be electric. We know what it is there.
Yeah.
But I think truly the money's starting to trickle in.
I'm with you. And I think they'll get up for this one. It's interesting. It's like you give yourself probably a better chance if you make this the whiteout game, but I think their track record of whiteout games, they've been doing that a little too much, so they probably just, we want to win one of these whiteout games, or I don't know what the record is, but I don't think it's that fantastic.
No, that's what Dave said.
Right, but it's because they keep playing. It's because they keep playing Ohio State and Michigan or whoever else half the time. Michigan State maybe when they've been good. So throwing Minnesota on there when Minnesota's a tough game. Obviously, if they're healthier, I think it would have been a better game. But you kind of called it and warned me about it, and my eyes lit up like that whiteout game doesn't make me feel good about Minnesota, but I'll stick with what I've thought about them. But because the atmosphere in this game is still going to be awesome. Is it going to be as good as a whiteout game? Probably not, but it'll still be, if it's 90% of that, I mean, you're still getting an incredible atmospheres. And Ohio State not having to go to Michigan, that's going to be the toughest atmosphere they play in all season long. So I'm with you. I think that one, if it's maybe it's a two-score game in the conclusion, but at the very least, I think it'll be a close game or a one-score game maybe for a lot of the game that we see here, and it's a pretty entertaining game. That's what I'm hoping for.
Do you have? This will be the question, and we haven't talked. We usually don't dig into them. Do you have a first half number there?
Oh, for that game? Let's see. We
Because
don't get too many.
Vegas would
Eight
give
and
you
a,
a heads.
8.5 in the first half there.
So it lands on 7 or 10. What was the under over in the first half?
30.5. 30.5.
All right, so there you go. You're gonna get your 20 to 10 first half, and it lands on 10, or you're gonna get your 17 to 10, and it lands on 7.
I'll go 17-13. That's my guess. How about that first half score?
If you really like Penn State, I think you got to take them in the first half. Hope Ohio State comes out flat, and hope that the crowd gets you going.
Yeah, because at the very least, I think they'll at least, maybe the crowd dies down a little bit just by, stamina wise or anything. But it could be crazy in the first half there. So I think I might be interested as well there. 5.5 for the first quarter, or even I'll have to double check if that's right. FanDuel's got 3.5 for the first quarter. DraftKings got 5.5 for the first quarter there. So I don't know. Maybe a little Penn State first half action. I might be interested as well there.
Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. It sounds like you and I will be talking this afternoon potentially on some other stuff tonight and this weekend. So we'll save some thoughts there. I don't know. Undecided if I'm doing Big Ten blog this week. I'll be doing a Bulls blog for sure for tonight's game. I am one best bet every day. I'm 4-1 so far. Game tonight and tomorrow. So stay tuned there. I've been having some success. I should be 5-0. I had needed one assist in 30 minutes of gameplay from one player and didn't get it on my one loss. So I feel like I should be 5-0 here, but no, I don't have any crazy closing thoughts. Be on the lookout for that. We'll be back out here this afternoon, having some success with the NBA as we start to get into the season a little bit here after some things are starting to unfold a little bit. But yeah, I'll be ready to rock and roll. You and I will be ready, even more ready, maybe for college basketball in the Big Ten. I cannot wait. Still got to do some extra research to be 100% ready. But yeah, I don't know what the big games coming up are in the first week. I know there's a handful here and there, but and obviously some stinkers as far as the Illinois versus Eastern Illinois. I don't know what that'll look like, but yeah, either way, we'll be talking about it. So I can't wait until we've got not only that, but an overlapping football and basketball for the Big Ten. So the future is bright. We've got a lot of stuff coming down the plate, and yeah, just be on the lookout for everything.
Yeah, you get those layups to start, but what it really starts to kick in is, in that Thanksgiving, Christmas area when the college football season takes a back seat because they're getting ready for their bowl games and their conference games and stuff, championships. And then in come the tournaments, the Puerto Ricos, this, that, the other thing, and the college hoops. And there's going to be some great matchups. What I'm hearing, what I'm reading, geez, you would think that Michael Jordan, James Worthy, and a few others are playing in North Carolina because there's some people out there that just calling this team a freight train.
I know, yeah, and yeah, there's a lot of teams that I'm interested in. Like I said, as far as the Big Ten, Illinois is a giant X factor. They bring in some nice transfers, but obviously, sometimes that works, sometimes that is a giant dumpster fire. As far as the Big Ten, people are kind of talking as if Isaiah Thomas and Victor Oladipo are teaming up as far as the Indiana Hoosiers are concerned. I think they'll be good, but people have got them pretty damn high. I don't know. We'll see. I think I think the Big Ten is going to be an awesome conference to watch this year, and it's super competitive. So I'm excited for that as well.
The return of Bobby Knight, Keith Smart, and a few others, right?
Yeah. The Zeller family all in one place. Oladipo, Isaiah Thomas, all of them, all on the same team this year.
All right, peeps. So me and Riley going to be back around 3:30, 3:45 Eastern time. Going to duck out for a little while. Then we're going to get back. We're going to do a closing bell. And then in the middle of the show, we'll bring our weekly guest, Mr. Lucky at Follow Fade, talking last week NFL, this week NFL, and, of course, the Circa contest. And then if we have to, myself and Riley will do a wrap-up show there. Tonight we got 2 college football games. Actually, 3 if you call Yale Columbia, 41-point favorites by Columbia. So 2 football games.
Yeah.
We got a full NBA slate, and of course we got the World Series. So guys, enjoy lunch and brunch. Come follow me at EC Sports Invest, Riley at Riley_Magnuson1. We'll be back in a couple hours. Thanks everyone for watching and listening, and we will see you soon.